What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Loose Change. Peace and blessings to everybody. I hope everybody's good. I wanted to talk to y'all about something that I've been noticing lately, something that I've been thinking about over probably the past year or so, whatever the case may be. And I kind of waited and looked around, and before I brought it out. Ladies and gentlemen, the English language is now being manipulated. And the crazy thing about it is, even the language is capable of attacking a man. All right. The manipulation of language is being used now, and to the language is being used now to attack the way that men have always been. Now, ladies are going to take issue with this, what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be, and frankly, I don't care. The reason I'm talking about this is one, because I can, and two, because it's just true. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is not about narcissists. But that's the one I'm going to pull out right now. These are clinical words that are used by psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever the case may be. So narcissism, all right, 20, 30 years ago, the word narcissist, whenever they created the image of a narcissist, it was someone who walked around with a mirror and was so impressed with themselves that they believed that they deserve preferential treatment based off of what they look like, all right? If you go back to anything, if you go back to any of, it was usually a guy that seemed a little bit flamboyant, um, usually blonde hair, blue eyed guy, walking around with a fucking mirror and a brush, something like that, and they believed that they deserved this certain thing because they were on such a high level, such a higher level than everybody else. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all know what narcissist is now? Narcissist is someone who manipulates situations and manipulates every situation for the betterment of themselves. That's what narcissism is now. So why the change? Why did the word change? Why did the definition of the word change? It would have been very easy to just create a new word, but why did the word change? Because narcissism is such a known word that it would be easier to apply it to a different group of people, to apply it to a group of people, rather than to just create a new word. Now, the reason that I utilize that word and I come straight out of it, off the bat with it, is because that is an insult that is used almost exclusively to men. All right? When you look at the first definition, if we're keeping it 100, who is that? That's the woman. That's what women are nowadays. For the most part. Not all women. I want to make sure that you hear me say it. Not all women, but that's who most women are nowadays. Don't believe me? Look at my video, not the last video, not the last three videos, the fourth video, the pretty girls versus the plain Janes video. There's a woman who is on that video who came out and asked, who believes that she is entitled to a decent man because she believes she's a pretty girl.
The good guys always like cuff the plain Jane females. Why is it so hard for us pretty girls to come across a decent guy?
Alright? Now let me explain something to y'all about men. Okay, toxic word, that's another word. Alright? Toxic was a word that just meant it was used to describe situations. Alright? And now it's almost exclusively tagged on a man whom a woman chooses to keep coming back to and keep dealing with, or whatever the case may be, despite how bad she believes that it is. Which means she's kind of toxic to herself because she's the one who keeps coming back to that situation. But I digress. Fuck pointing the finger or whatever the case may be. I'm just making a point, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, mental health Y'all know what word mental health used to be associated with back in the 80s, back in the 90s, or whatever the case may be. But now that word really can't be used now. It's almost as if it's a curse word now. But when it was that word, when that's how you were referred to, nobody wanted no parts of that. But now that you have all of these softer terms, or whatever the case may be, these clinical terms that have been made, put out there publicly, now there are people who claim stuff that they're not even that they haven't been diagnosed with: bipolar disorder, um, all of these different things. All right, schizophrenia, all of these different things, and a lot of times you find people joking about it, saying, you know, I'm so bipolar, I'm this, I'm whatever the case may be. But back in the day, so ladies and gentlemen, the point that I'm making is, when we're talking about something like narcissism, when we're talking about something like toxic or whatever the case may be, most of the people who utilize these terms don't even utilize them right. All right, most of the people who utilize these terms and try to make someone feel bad for them even giving a damn about them utilize these terms because they're trying to make a certain person who belongs to a certain group of people feel bad. So now that becomes an insult that you give to try to describe that person to them. Ladies and gentlemen, the narcissist word, it's a situation, even how it's defined now. That is a situation where a person is utilizing something in order for it to benefit them directly. All right? So if you keep venting about a certain situation or whatever the case may be, and that person says to you, hey, why don't you try this? And they make a suggestion to you. And it's not attached with, if you don't do this, I'm going to love you differently, or I'm not going to fuck with you no more, or some shit like that. If it's not attached to an ultimatum or some shit like that, there's nothing narcissistic about it. That person doesn't benefit from you doing it. He doesn't benefit from you not doing it, or whatever the case may be. However, people will come out and say that. And see, ladies and gentlemen, the reason that I'm saying this is because men have been solution-based for thousands of years. We have been solution-based, and we are result-driven, ladies and gentlemen. That's just how we think, or whatever the case may be. Sitting there and talking about your feelings and your emotions will only keep you in that space. And men don't want to do that. All right? They don't, not even for themselves. They don't want you to stay in that emotional space. So they will offer a solution if they give a damn about you. See, ladies and gentlemen, you can't keep coming out talking about you need a man that can lead, and I would submit to a man who is a real man and he has the ability to lead, and this, that, and the third, because a lot of men out here who are capable of leading, the reason that they aren't capable of leading is because you are incapable of following. You are incapable of even realizing when someone has your best interests at heart, because you can buck at the system. You can buck at that system. You can buck at what we've always been. So now the English language is being manipulated, and now we are living in comparison with how you would do something and how you would move, and now you expect a man to move that way. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the biggest point, and I'm gonna let y'all go. We are different. We may come to the same conclusion. The way that we get there is more than likely different, ladies and gentlemen. See, that's why I talked about, in one of my last videos, I talked about faith. What do you believe in, or whatever the case may be? And if you can't believe that something is behind all of this, how can you believe in a person? Ladies and gentlemen, put this simply. The reason that I'm bringing up your faith is because there are 296 registered religions in the world. And just about all of them says that one certain person should lead the house. And it's one thing that most of those, that's one thing that most of these religions are in concert when it comes to that subject. I don't even have to say it. Y'all know. Y'all know. So, ladies and gentlemen, if that was the case, if there was one person who shall lead the house, how you got to the same point, because ain't the common goal for doing what's best for the household? How you got to that point wouldn't be worth arguing about, because you've come to the same conclusion. So a lot of the shit that we argue about would never be argued about. Show off.